What's up everyone, Dukes Do Keys here. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Ace 52 CQB in Battlefield 4. Now this is old gen footage you're watching, but the reason I haven't posted in a while is because I just got a next gen console, so I've been trying to get acclimated to all that. I'll have some footage up for that shortly. Anyway, Ace 52 CQB is a carbine in Battlefield 4 available for every class. It shoots the heavy hitting 7.62 round, which gives it a very unique damage model among all the carbines. 34 up close and trailing off to 20 at 50 meters. What this means is that you can basically two-shot someone in the dome piece out to about 34-35 meters. And your overall damage output is higher than most carbines and assault rifles in the game. This weapon has a lot of similarities to the Scar H, which happens to be my top weapon, so I find it pretty easy to pick up and play with. But this weapon is otherwise pretty unruly for those who aren't used to the 7.62 rifles in the game. So let's get down to the stats of this weapon. Like I said, it hits for 34 up close, trailing off to 20, which is 5 damage higher than every other carbine at long range. This means that even at a distance, you can 5-shot somebody assuming all your shots are on target and they don't have the defensive perk. And while that damage output is nice, the Ace 52 is not the best at range. Matter of fact, I would say the Ace 52 is best suited for close to medium range because of a couple characteristics which really differentiate it from the Scar H, which I would say is its closest counterpart. For one, it clocks in with a rate of fire of 650 rounds per minute. While not the fastest, this damage model more than makes up for that, and you will find yourself shredding through people in close quarters. Also, compared to the Scar H, it has a substantially better hip fire, so in those pinch moments you can actually get away with not aiming down sights, even though you're shredding people enough. One other characteristic of the Ace 52 that's both a pro and a con is its magazine size of 26. It's more than the Scar H, but less than most of your other carbines, and 10 less than the Ace 21. What this means is that you really have to make your shots count, but you have a little more leeway than you would if you were using the Scar H. Now, one important thing to note is that this weapon also suffers from the Ace family's curse of the really long reload for the empty reload. It only has a 2.2 tac reload, but a 3.1 reload if you're empty. So always watch your ammo and make sure you don't get caught, because 3.1 seconds in close quarters is an eternity. Moving on to the recoil numbers, it has a 0.25 kick to the left and right, with a 0.45 kick up and a 2.3 first shot multiplier. It's a little harsher than the Scar H, and as such is going to be a little more difficult to use at range. Combine that recoil with your 0.3 aim down sight accuracy, and you get a weapon that's a little more oriented towards close quarters than the Scar H is. So what maps would I recommend this for? Anything with close and medium range engagements like Zavad. Maybe Golmud Railway too if you're sticking to the top 3 objectives. And one map that I've found really good success with this weapon on is Siege of Shanghai, because you rarely have really long lanes. But I wouldn't bring this to anything like any of the Naval Strike maps or maybe Caspian 2014, because you got some longer lanes to work with. In that case, I would use something like the AK-5C or the M4, because those weapons excel at medium and long range. So what loadouts would I recommend for the Ace 52? Well, optic is of your choice, but as you can see, I'm running the Coyote optic. Clear sight picture makes the extra visual recoil not quite so bad for target acquisition. Underbarrel, I would highly recommend a angled / folding grip, because that 2.3 multiplier is one of the highest among the carbines. So anything you can do to make that recoil a bit more manageable is a plus in my book. As for the barrel attachment, that's where things get a little more interesting. The Ace 52 has the slowest muzzle velocity of all the carbines at 400 meters a second, so a suppressor is going to hurt your medium and long range game in just absolutely ridiculous amounts. But the plus side to that is you're not on the mini-map, so if you're all up in close quarters, you can use that 34 damage to really good effect. When it comes to a choice between a muzzle brake and a compensator, it really depends on how good you are at recoil control. I actually generally prefer a flash hider, because of the added spread increase means that I can really only get away with 2 to 3 round bursts, which, even though you should be doing that anyway, at medium range and close range sometimes you have to mag dump, and if you have any of those 2 barrel attachments, it just makes the spread increase to where your 3rd or 4th bullet is flying past whatever you're aiming at. But if you must take one or the other, I would highly recommend the muzzle brake because .25 to both sides isn't a whole lot. And generally, if you're mag dumping the Ace-52, you're doing something wrong. So the muzzle brake, in my opinion, would be the best barrel attachment if you're not that great at recoil control. However, usually I run with a flash hider, which is what I'm doing in this footage because it's a straight upgrade from no barrel attachment, and it has no negative effects on the weapon whatsoever. So a few tips and tricks for using this weapon. Well, my first and biggest point would be to take it slow and pace yourself. There are a couple moments in this footage where I get a little too greedy and it ends up getting me killed. The slow rate of fire and comparatively small magazine size don't allow for a lot of mistakes, which is one of the reasons why I think this is one of the more skillful weapons in the game. But taking it slow and steady is always a good idea, pretty much in any first-person shooter, but especially so when you're dealing with the slow, heavy-hitting weapons like this or the Scar H. Especially when you count into the Battlefield netcode, which is greatly improved now with the latest patch. But still, the slow weapons suffer greatly from it, and it's a noticeable thing. Another good pointer is burst fire / tap fire is your friend with this weapon. The spread increase is pretty horrendous, just like the Scar H is, so anything past 4 or 5 bullets and your rounds are going to be flying all over the place. So once you see somebody, pop, stop, and shoot. Because while it is a carbine and you aren't quite penalized quite as much as the assault rifle is for shooting on the move, it's still best to just pop and stop, especially with only 26 rounds. Like I said earlier, you got to make every shot count, and if you have to strafe, go ahead, but if you can manage to stop and shoot, that will conserve your ammunition a lot. But yeah guys, that's about all I got time for today. This is Dukes Dukees signing off.